Episode 10 of Video Game Small Talk. Howdy, folks. We are back for yet another episode, and oh my god, the games, they just keep coming. And you know, it's actually that busy time, isn't it, Patrick?
Where it's just so busy.
I mean, I know I say that like probably every episode, but seriously, this time around, I think we've had so many games around that we have run out of space. And also Hope was just drowning in video games and couldn't join us. She is on assignment, doing something else with her time. So instead, in her stead, we got our good friend and Tokyo correspondent from. He's the social media and production coordinator for New Game Plus in Melbourne, Jamie Galea.
Hey, how y'all doing? You like to think it's the episode with no hope, but you gain me instead, so
yes.
it's not as
hopeless as you think. Yeah,
you know, it's how these things go sometimes. But hey, look, I'm looking at our list here. We've got a bunch of video games that, like, so many games have come out in the last 2 weeks, and we've been playing a whole heap of them. Not all of them, because frankly, that's impossible these days.
Yeah. Yep,
but a surprising amount. So.
Yeah, we do our best. But we are going to kick it off with a couple of quickies for you. Patrick, you've been playing Astral Chain. How's that going?
Yes. So I finally finished Astral Chain.
Oh, you finished it?
I finished like one run or whatever. Normally Platinum games are like you want to play it and then replay it and whatever, but I just don't feel that impetus with this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, really?
I think at the end of the day, part of the problem is like, so I've felt uneasy about it last time I talked about it, and I think that sort of feeling has continued. And I think what I've come to the conclusion is it's kind of like kitchen sink Platinum design, where they're trying to do a whole bunch of different things and not all of them are working out, and that's kind of an issue for it, basically. So I'm still overall fairly positive on the game. I think you should play it, especially if you like Platinum games, but I'm just sort of like, it's not the pure action of a Bayonetta, it doesn't have the story chops of a Nier. It definitely doesn't have the story is just complete, like about halfway through it just falls off a cliff and never
nice.
So like, you know, we were sort of like, oh, it's got all these tropey stuff, but like, you know, Nier has tropey stuff. Obviously that has you know, Yoko Taro behind it, so it's a different sort of standard. But it tries to have its anime moments, and it does have a lot of those anime moments, but the problem is that like I talked about, you have a silent protagonist, so you kind of don't really care about any of it. Yeah. Also, all the characters are dumb and not care about, and like they're kind of fun in a personal kind of way, but I don't know. It just doesn't carry it for me. So it's sort of like a B tier Platinum at the end of the day.
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
That's a bummer.
It's still good, and there's lots of production. Like I think the combat is probably the strongest part. The evolution of having like the stand, the Legion or whatever. That sort of gameplay is actually a really good take on their sort of Platinum-style Bayonetta combat, which they reuse for a lot of things, but there's lots of little quirks with it, which I don't find. Like, one example I would jump to is that when you counter stuff, you often go into these animations, but the problem is sometimes you're invulnerable during the animation, sometimes you're not invulnerable during the animations.
Ooh.
There's no real way to tell the difference, so besides, like, knowing how they work and stuff like that. And that's not unusual, but, like, stuff like Bayonetta, for instance, you can cancel out of everything. This you can't cancel out of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's not actually that useful.
That just sounds really sloppy for Platinum. It seems like you go into every one of those games and they're so mechanically precise where you know what you're doing. That just seems really weird.
This is not... I don't think it's not the same purity of design focus in the same way that Bayonetta has. Like, Bayonetta is a super reactive game. This is a bit more about positioning and setup and stuff like that. But it's not quite at the level needed to... Like, it's a really good first attempt, but it's also a first attempt, and then on top of all the other stuff that it has in it, it's just like, maybe, you know, get it on sale or something.
It sounds like it's lacking a bit of cohesion.
Yeah, basically.
Bummer.
Yep.
Oh well. But, you know, still worth a look if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah,
basically.
I need to give that game a shot. I think by the time I wanted to give it a shot, it was just, oh, by the way, it's sold out everywhere in physical stores, and I didn't have enough room on my SD card on my Switch. So like, let's go buy it in Japan. Oh, wait, no, I couldn't, because it's also still really expensive over there.
Yeah.
Still
looking forward to Bayo 3 at some point. They'll give us news on that one day.
Please,
nice.
I would be really cool.
What's this?
Jamie.
What have you got next? You got Mega Mix?
Yeah, so I should probably also clarify, I was in Tokyo for Tokyo Game Show, so I got to play a bunch of stuff there, which was really cool. So one of the stuff I played was the new Project Diva game, so I think it's called Project Diva Mega Mix. It's called something weird in Japan. I think it's like Project Diva Mega Mikus or Mega 39s, depending on how you want to look at it. So have you played? So has everyone here played a Project Diva game before?
Never.
I played like kind of one, but it wasn't my style of
rhythm game
necessarily. So
yeah, so it's basically more of that, except on the Switch. So it's going to sell 1 million copies, so people will love it.
Excellent. That's all I need.
I mean, so but to kind of be a little bit more specific about that. So one of the nice things about it is this is going to be a bit of a weird question. So how many people? So top of the Switch controller. What button is that off the top of your head without looking at it?
Top of the Switch controller, like ZR?
Yeah, like
why?
Or ZL?
Like the 4-button config?
Yeah, the 4-button config. The one, one that completely
B?
throws you off.
Is that B? I don't remember.
Okay.
Shit.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is, so by default, the game tells you, okay, you need to hit X, Y, B, and A as per the Switch controllers. But if you're like me and you don't really use a Switch controller all that much, you don't know when it says the X button. Okay, what does it actually mean? Is it the top button? Is it the left button? Is it the right button? You get what I mean?
Oh,
Why'd
shit,
you do
it's
this,
X,
Nintendo?
It's X on the Switch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely different. So if you're like me and you're looking at your Xbox 360 controller on your PC, it's completely different. So this game gets around it in a really interesting way. So one of the options you can pick, you can choose what icons the buttons are. So in this case, you have, say, X, Y, B, A for the Switch controllers. You have up, down, left, right if you want to use it that way. Or you can straight up have triangle, cross, circle, square if you really want to, and they are mapped exactly the same way as they would be on a PlayStation controller. So if you're like me and you've played a lot of Project Diva on a PlayStation console, it completely works.
That's pretty funny. And
That's funny.
Good, honestly, because it's years of solving the issue, and then I bet Nintendo doesn't give a shit, really.
Probably not.
Oh, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. But that's also weirdly been like the thing with that series. Like you go into arcades and you see the Project Diva arcade machines, and they have the triangle, circle, X, and square buttons there. They're in a different layout because I don't know. And yeah, like it's just they do not give a shit with that series, and it's great. I love it. 10 out of 10. Best series.
It's like tapping into a like a universal language. When trying to come up with controller maps, it's a fucking science.
Yeah, like.
That. Yeah.
Like to me, because I tried to play a demo. I tried to play a song on that demo, and I couldn't do it because I completely threw me off. Because what's what button? Then I go back and I see the option to do that. It's like, okay, now this totally makes sense. I'm doing much better now because I'm used to that input. Like it makes way more sense. So it's rad.
Well, rhythm games specifically have that sort of like look recognition thing needs to be so instantaneous.
Yeah,
yeah,
it needs to be
and
like pure hand-eye coordination, basically.
Oh yeah, and we'll get to those because I played a lot of rhythm games while I was in Japan.
I'm curious about this other one, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we will. But so that game's coming out sometime next year in both Japan and the West, so that should be fun. I'm totally buying that because, hey, it's Miku on the Switch. It's not the first portable Miku game, but I'll take it.
Sweet.
Speaking of rad Switch games, Patrick, and I suppose I've been playing some of this as well, and I think, Jamie, you might have been playing a little bit of it too. Untitled Goose Game came out finally.
I am going to go with you guys because I've played like half an hour at most because I was in my hotel room downloading and I'm like, I can't play this because I need to go home. But I played a little bit of it. Like it's really charming and has like the best maybe 10 seconds of a game I've played in a long time. Best open 10 seconds of a game I've played in a very long time.
Yeah. So I've done the review for The Guardian. That should be up tomorrow with any luck. Keith, put the goddamn review up, please. Come on. But it's just good. It's a really charming time. I sat down with the developers last PAX Australia, I think, and visited them when they were still in development. So I played that first area already, but this time around, I ran through the whole thing. It's not that long, honestly. It's only about 2 or 3 hours, probably less. If I've seen a speed run already. It's about 17 minutes on a speed run. Obviously, that's for someone who knows what they're doing and can just jump through stuff. But it's just really charming. And if you don't know what Goose Game is, basically it's sort of like you're a horrible goose, and your goal is to ruin everyone's day. It's set on this very charming English village. It's sort of a top-down isometric sort of view. The camera's swinging around or whatever. But the gist of it is that it's sort of like Hitman, but you're a goose, and the stakes are a lot more comedic and slapstick than murderous. Although Hitman's pretty slapstick in some ways, so I don't know.
These days more so. Holy crap!
Yeah, but I don't know. There's just a lot of. I think possibly the best. Like I like a lot about Goose Game, but I think my favorite thing about Goose Game was that I showed it to my girlfriend, who was completely game illiterate, and she like loved it immediately, basically.
Yeah,
So-
it's definitely got that immediate sort of level of visual charm about it. It's
And
arresting.
comedy, I think, is the main thing. It's a really funny game, and like it's not funny in the way that, say, Curse of Monkey Island is funny, in that, like, it's got jokes or humorous. Like, it's just something to the animation, the way the like music is Mickey Mousing, sort of like, playing with the.
It's pure slapstick.
way that-
It's very
Right, exactly.
It's very like
like
the Three Stooges.
yeah.
that sort
Like
of
there's
thing.
I definitely think more like of Looney Tunes or
Totally.
Buster Keaton or something like
Yep,
that. When
totally.
like there's a button just where you spread your wings, and there's no purpose to the button really. It's you spread your wings because you're a goose, and that's what a goose does.
Yeah,
And-
you can honk. You can honk.
Yep,
The
you
way
grab
like, his little waddle when he walks,
Yes,
or like between.
It's
the
great.
model animation is great.
It's amazing.
It's just
Yeah.
like there's just so much character to the little guy, and he's a little bastard.
Yeah, it's just a very satisfying, funny game to play, and I think it's also fun to be a dickhead, but in a way that isn't murderous.
Yes,
I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
I
Yeah.
agree. There's
like,
another
that is
murderous
such-
dickhead game that I've been playing a lot of, which we'll talk about
Yeah.
later. So this is a nice sort of breath of
Yeah,
change of.
I really recommend it. It's
change
made
of
by folks out of Melbourne, by the way, which, in case that wasn't clear, the House. Yeah, it's a great game. It's a great game.
Yeah,
I need to play more of it.
I've only played like I think I'm like maybe played about an hour. I'm like a couple of areas into it and very much loving it. It's just super charming, as Patrick said, and
Yeah.
I think it's also quite cheap at the moment. It's got like a 20%
It's
off
like
deal.
$15 for the first 2 weeks or week or whatever.
Yeah, definitely worth picking up. Just wonderful
PC
little
or
game.
Epic Store. I think it's an Epic Store exclusive on PC.
It is. They
But,
they cop so much crap about that because of course they did.
I mean,
What a fucking surprise. Let's be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other Switch game that I grabbed was Sayonara Wild Hearts.
I've heard a little bit about this.
Yeah.
So I don't know
So
anything about it, but I've heard
I-
like good things.
Yeah, so I think it's also out on Apple Arcade, and I can't really speak to the iOS performance or anything like that, because it looks to
can.
me like it would be fucking crazy on an iOS device, depending on device.
Yeah. I mean, you go first, Patrick. I played a little bit on an iPad, on one of the more recent iPad Pros, so I know I can speak to that. But go ahead.
I'll just give a quick description of it, and it's
Please.
basically sort of like an indie. I guess the closest is like an indie res if the music was more like Carly Rae Jepsen, or like something like pop punk, pop synth sort of ideal.
Righto.
Very neon, very kung fu, surprisingly bikerish. There's lots. It's like it's a what's the word, that temple run? It's sort of a runner game, right? Like you're just going forward straight.
Yeah, I'd say it's basically that, except instead of it being endless like levels, there is designs. There are actual levels, and some of them go for a while. Some of them are like 30 seconds long.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a running. It's kind of more like a concept album. Is my feeling about it. I finished it twice at this point. Like I played the first time through normal, and then the second time through, you unlock this mode called arcade mode, which is basically the whole thing, but there's no. Like normally it pauses between tracks to be like, oh, here's your score. This one it just goes, and it's so much better in arcade mode.
That is exactly like Rez.
Yeah, so that's what it needs to be. I feel that it should have been that in the first iteration, honestly, because the pacing is really stop-start when you play it through with scoring. The music is incredible. The synth stuff is like the what I mean by synth is like the fusion between the visuals and the gameplay itself. In terms of a rhythm game, I'm not sure I like it so much in that sense because the precision isn't quite there. There's a lot of as a runner, right? Like my normal idea about runners is that you're on a track and you're like switching between the tracks, so something closer to like a Guitar Hero or a Load Runner or something like that. But this is a lot more analog, where you actually have to steer, and even though there's like power ups or whatever you're grabbing on these tracks, it's still very analog, and you're moving. But the sheer variety of like camera angles, the games that it's almost like near in the way that it flips between things that you're doing almost instantaneously with like really solid camera cuts and just just flowing into and that's kind of the thing about that initial mode where you're getting scored all the time, because it interrupts the flow state of the album, which is really not what you want. So the second mode was a way better experience just because it's going and going and going, and I'm just listening to the music and getting like blitzed out of my mind on like visuals, which is sort of like that's more of a Mizuguchi sort of thing, right? But this thing is just fantastic, and I think I didn't look at the credits 100%, but I think that at least the music and the writing and the general game design, I think is one person. Like obviously there's help in designing assets and music and stuff like that, but I think that like it's an auteur sort of experience in some ways.
Didn't get that vibe out of it. I finished it, but I didn't look too closely at the credits because I think
the credits are very long, so I think there's lots of like asset help and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of like as an album, it feels auteurish in the way that an album does, So.
And if we're also speaking about that very quickly, you can also the whole thing's up on Spotify right now if you want to go listen to it.
Yeah. I might actually grab the album off iTunes or something while iTunes still exists.
That's cool.
Yes, go enjoy that. Please go do that. But yeah, no, I much like Patrick, I played through it. I played through it on the iPad because Apple Arcade.
Yeah, how's the performance on there? It's really good on Switch, so...
Yeah, I played... I've got a recent iPad Pro, so performance isn't a problem at all. So it ran really well. Can't complain about that. It was super smooth. Like, I think the only thing I had was the controls weren't particularly tight. Like you were saying before, how it just doesn't feel right.
That's just game design, I think. There's like... You do a slight flick and she'll careen off the side or whatever. It's... Like, it's manageable, it's not as precise as you want for a rhythm game, but as an interactive experience, I think it's really, really solid.
Like,
that's... Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's also that's what I was also going to say. Like, I mean, I'm willing to accept a lot of those faults because the actual experience is... and I don't know if I can swear in this podcast, so I apologize. It's a fucking trip and I love it.
Yeah, what's the word? Synesthesia? It comes out every time.
Synesthesia?
Aura Reds comes out, and I was just like, yeah, I'm definitely feeling this. I'm just like, I'm in here. Like, there's shit happening, and my brain is being very happy right now. So,
like, it's great. It's really, really good. I'm kind of wish I kind of want to buy a Switch copy just so I could say I actually own a copy instead of it being on a subscription. So.
Yeah. I will say it's only about probably an hour long if you run it front to back.
Yeah,
maybe a bit longer than that. But yeah, no, exactly. It's an experience to me. So,
like it's same thing with Rez to me. It's like it's. I'm happy that the game is an hour, maybe 2 hours tops, but it doesn't have to be anything longer than that.
Honestly, I was really glad for this bunch of small games because fucking Astral Chain just took so much of my time, and I wasn't. And by the end of it, I was kind of slogging through it, which was kind of annoying.
Oof.
It's a terrible feeling when you just like find yourself trudging through the muddy end of a game and you're just like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
It's a bad
I'm just
feeling.
glad I wasn't playing it for review. Fuck.
Yeah, goddamn. Don't become a games reviewer, kids. Oh.
Tell me about what the hell is My? What is Love Live? Festival. This different love. This is not the Love Live I know. Is this some Sunshine bullshit?
Okay, so these are two separate.
What is this anime bullshit, Jamie?
Okay, no, listen, I know some anime bullshit, but explain yourself.
All right, so these are two separate games. So I should probably explain what going into this. So when I'm in Japan, I've done this about 3 or 4 times already. There's 1 or 2 games I will go into every arcade. And I will spend at least a couple hundred yen just playing because
Jubeats.
I just pretty much. That's still very much a thing up there. So usually in this case, it's always just rhythm games. In this case, I spent a lot of time in My and a lot of time in, and I'm going to botch it's a very long title. It's Love Live School Idol Festival After School Activity.
Okay.
So which one do you want to hear about first? The one that's actually anime. My. Okay, so My is a Sega arcade game. It's a rhythm game. But basically the idea is you play on this massive kind of washing machine like unit. So you have a screen in the center of the actual machine, but around it is like a circle of buttons. So you have like I want to say it's like 6 or 8 buttons.
So you've posted a picture in the show notes. This thing looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, it is intense. And the one thing you might not see is that each kind of unit is 2 units kind of linked up together. There's a camera.
This is Jubeats.
So basically, it's kind of Jubeat, except it's maybe a little bigger, so to speak.
Yeah.
So kind of the crazy thing about it is, so in the center of that center screen where all the buttons are, that's a touch screen. So there are motions where you tap a button, then you also have to drag across the screen as well, which. If you've seen, which a lot of the professional people who play on the harder, crazy difficulties will often have gloves on because swiping across that screen really quickly can kind of really hurt you.
Yeah.
You gotta get blisters on those fingers.
Yeah, blisters, sure. Like yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Fuck yourself up for your art.
But it's beautiful. Like, to me, it's just a really physical game. I kind of really like that in my rhythm games. Where I'm actually kind of just constantly moving my hands around like I'm like bloody Kenshiro or something.
Yeah,
and just kind of
you see professionals play this one, and it's like they're in that bloody what's that movie where they're just like the UI of the screen. They're just like moving all over the place.
Report.
Pretty much,
right? Yeah, exactly. It's so good.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's really good. Like, and the soundtracks, it's all licensed music, so it's like you get.
Is this the one with the anime covers? They all have anime covers. What am I talking?
No, they don't have anime covers. They have actual anime songs in there. They have the Pop Team Epic song. They have the They have that song from that show about the animals, and they're all like little animal girls.
Kemono Friends, yeah.
Thank you. They also have a bunch of Sega music, so you can also play Persona music if you really want to.
Can I play Judgment?
You can.
Can I play Yakuza music? No Yakuza music.
Not in one of the other Sega arcade games. You absolutely can, and I have photos to prove it.
Okay, that's good.
It's really good.
I do actually like my. I just recognized the machine. Well, I don't think I've played that, but I've played Jubi, which is a fairly similar concept.
Yeah, and that's
actually. They used to have this at the arcade in Central Park, as I recall. Actually,
yeah, so. No, I have seen Jubi machines in Melbourne as well, but there's this one super dodgy arcade back in the day, so it exists.
Yeah. Okay, and tell me about Love Live, this specific arcade game, because I haven't.
Okay, so
now we're all familiar with Love Live. Don't worry about you.
Okay, but I need to give you some history about this game in particular. So this originally started off as a free-to-play mobile game. So this is important. So it's out now on iOS and Android. It's actually kind of a decent rhythm game. Like, it's free-to-play as all hell, but...
Is this School Idol Festival in arcade form?
Yes, pretty much.
Well, then I know what it is.
It's an arcade port of that. So if you're familiar with it, like, hey, they basically recreated all the charts. They see actually all the layouts exactly the same, except now instead of anime girls popping up and kind of throwing you off, it's just full 3D girls doing dance routines. It's kind of wonderful.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay,
it's really cool. But kind of one of the things that's really interesting is kind of the setup. This is kind of the crazy thing. So every arcade has a setup where there's 3 actual game units and like a printing machine. Mm-hmm. So the game units all have a setup where you can scan in cards to kind of add more girls, add more outfits to your game. Yeah. And the way that it works is that so the printing machine, you can walk up to it, you get a card, you kind of say, I want to print off this specific card of this specific girl. You print it off. It takes photos of kind of specific dances that happen, so you can take photos of that. And there's also a setup so you can kind of, if you have dupes of cards, or maybe you want to share off your cards, you can kind of just put them in this little kind of display, so everyone could kind of take it. Every arcade has this, which is kind of really cool.
This weird socialism of school idols.
So, and not to mention, this game also has gacha, which is really interesting. Because of course it does, because it's a port of a goddamn mobile game, and it's Love Live.
I remember. Yeah.
So every so often, like, okay, well, maybe I want to get some new girls into my thing. Maybe I don't want to have just the one girl on my team, or maybe I want to fill up my slots with nine girls. So what I need to do is, okay, I'll put in the 100 yen to actually access the machine, do my gacha run. I'll get I'll get a Nico or something, and that's great. But maybe I want like an Ellie, or maybe I want a Nozomi or the like. So then I have to put in 100 yen each time I want to do more gacha runs.
Can you not do a 10 draw with with a sen yen or something?
So Patrick, my Japanese is really bad, so I couldn't tell you even if I wanted to.
Okay,
I could barely use the bloody machine.
It's like fascinating, just like thinking about the way they translated these mobile mechanics into this. Is it only the original 9 girls? Is not the
no? So when I was there last year, they only had the original 9 girls, but since I've been back, they added in the girls from the second series, and they also added in the second set of girls from the second series. So they have Muse from the first series, Aqua from the second series, and Saint Snow also from the second series.
Oh, okay, great.
So
that technology has developed beyond my knowledge.
And if you give it, dude, okay, can I go from a brief tangent if that's okay? If that's okay?
Yeah.
So on my last stay in Tokyo, I was staying in Akihabara because I'm a fucking dickhead like that. And I'm walking out of my hotel, and there's a big Love Live thing happening because they've been working on this second mobile game for like 3 or 4 years now. they're having a big launch event for it. So they have added in a third set of an actual proper set of third girls now, that exclusive to the game, which will more than likely be an anime in like the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So you can imagine walking around Akihabara, and I'm like, I just want to play some Tekken or some Mai, and you just see everyone there just crowding around because there's some event going on, because it's the fucking worst. Like, to basically explain this in words that Patrick will understand, and maybe some few others listening to this, I was literally in idle hell. It was great.
What the
fantastic?
What the fuck? What the fuck just happened? I feel like I've been in a fugue state for the last 5 months.
I also played some racing games if you want to hear about them, but that's good.
Well, I mean, that's the only way you're going to revive James, but we've got too many games on this docket as is.
Yeah, no, all good.
Sorry, I was just looking at this image of this machine for the last 10 minutes going, what the fuck am I looking
It's really,
at
like,
here?
it's worth braving your sickness for. It's fucking crazy. And not to mention, if you're still looking at My, there's a camera attached to that unit, so you could just take it'll take photos of you like during the song. So I have a lot of photos at the end of the song, so I'm just flipping off the camera.
Not allowed.
Because why not? No one knows it. No one can tell me no, so...
Who is this corrupt Westerner flipping off our camera? Fuck you.
Fantastic.
Hey, Patrick, did you finish Control?
I did finish Control.
What did you think of it?
Ooh.
And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I don't think I quite liked it at the threshold to go back and finish all the side content, because I didn't enjoy playing it, and that's for 2 reasons, and I articulated both of them earlier, which was basically I found the atmosphere very, very oppressive.
Yes.
And the gameplay is not it's serviceable. I wouldn't say it's great. It's serviceable. It serves the function of delivering the incredible story and, well, not the incredible story, but the incredible world to you.
Yes.
So,
sure.
Did you play Quantum Break there, Patrick?
No, I didn't play Quantum
So, you go tell me that the game is serviceable. Like, it is mountains better than Quantum Break in terms of, like, because playing that game was a frustrating mess, and the story you got out of it was not worth it, at least. This here is like, it's a much better game. It's certainly better. It's certainly the best game that Remedy has actually made.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the story, well, I still need to get through more of it because... I
think I can imagine a world where the Control gameplay is at the level that I'm thinking of, but I think the problem is my head is comparing it to, like, the greats of, combat, basically. I don't know why. Like, I'm thinking about, like, a horde mode for Control and some sort of, like... like comparing it in my head to like something like Gears or Halo or something like that. And I'm just like, it's not playing at that field, right? It's not it doesn't want to be at that field necessarily, but I'm it could be at that field if it aimed for it, but it's not there. It's not, and it doesn't want to be there, so it's not fair to think about that.
Of course, like I think of Remedy games as always kind of being in kind of a league of their own. Like, they don't, like, the games are fine, like they're certainly serviceable, but I'm just that. They are just a means for me to give me some Sam-like goodness, and I am more than happy for them to be playable. Would be ecstatic if they were better though, but I am very happy with Control. That's what I'm saying. So
me, James, and Hope have all actually finished it, and we're thinking of putting together a spoiler cast at some point just to talk about endgame stuff and our overall feelings on it as a whole. Yeah, which is probably a smart thing to do, considering we all played it and we've all got some pretty stark thoughts on the matter. Jamie, tell us about... Did you play Yakuza 7?
I played Yakuza 7. I got up nice and early. I took a 45-minute train to the Tokyo Game Show, and I lined up because I didn't know how the press pass work stuff over there, and I played some Yakuza 7.
That's awesome.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, as it's known out here for reasons.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So, okay.
What did you play?
Combat. Okay, so they only gave me I want to say it's like a 15 to 20 minute demo because I couldn't, again,
and it was hands-on? You got to...
It was hands-on. I physically played it. So this game is a turn-based RPG, and it is like legitimately a turn-based RPG, like to the point where there is straight-up job classes in this game.
Wow.
Yeah, you go to the job center, right? And it's
you go to an employment agency to swap jobs.
I love it.
Good. That's fantastic.
They are taking the idea of, because I love the idea of an RPG, of games that do like RPG tropes, but set in a contemporary society. Like, there are a lot of problems with those Ubisoft South Park games, but I love the fact that they are straight up RPGs in a more
modern
or less
society, modern
exactly. So this game really does a lot of great stuff with that. So I should also probably explain that I really like Yakuza, so I'm not one of those weird people like,
no, don't worry.
Yeah, you're in good company here.
You're in good company here.
So I'm not one of those weird people who are like, oh, well, Yakuza only has to be this one thing. It's like, dude, the series has been around for like nearly 15 years. Let them fucking do whatever they want. They have the, like, they can go ahead and make their own weird thing. Like, they've made the same basic game for the last however long.
Like, just going and making a Yakuza RPG sounds like the most Yakuza thing that they could have possibly done. Because those games are fucking like little bits of everything. Like... Yeah, that's kind of what those games are like, little bits, little flavors from all over the place.
Yeah. Like me and Hope were saying last episode, we talked about this. The brawling has always sucked. It's been bad.
Yeah, like I love that. I will say this. I love those games. I love the animations. I love the situational awareness of that combat. I just do not like actually fighting in that game.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's like the actual kind of just beat to beat combat is not my style, but I love kind of everything they do around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, if you ever played Sleeping Dogs, I actually think that combat is way better.
I will 100% agree with you on that. Like, I own that game 5 fucking times because I love that game so much.
Sleepy Dogs is so good. R.I.P. Fuck.
Never played Sleeping Dogs.
R.I.P.
It's a really...
Maybe it's my fault.
A really I probably want to talk about it more in a considered context about being Asian, and specifically about being Asian Western in some way, but it's also just a legitimately good game.
Yes, no, it is. That game is rad. So,
cool.
Shit, Yakuza 7. So, I mean, do you want to know more about it? Because
yeah. Tell us all about it.
What did you get out of it without speaking Japanese, I guess, is my
so
question.
It's more or less... Oh yeah, no, like there was no English in it whatsoever. So I'm just there skipping cutscenes and dialogue because I can't fucking read it and barely understand it. So I'm playing combat mostly, and the actual RPG combat stuff works. Like, it's all turn-based. They have status effects. They have the ability, like, you can see your next turns and all that, which is nice. They also kind of merge kind of the Yakuza style of the whole situational awareness thing, where because the way that it works is that you and your enemies are always kind of moving around the kind of the combat zone. So let's say you do an attack and you have to run over to the other guy. But let's say there's like a bike or something along the way. Your character will pick up that bike, use it to actually attack them at the same time.
That's cool.
So it fits that way. And stuff?
Sorry?
Did it give bonuses?
Like,
does it up your attack or something, or is it just a visual flair?
I think it may have given me a bonus attack as well, or maybe a special attack. I need to have more context for the system.
Yeah.
But it's also stuff like, oh, you're next to a car. Well, okay, well, I'll just do an attack off the car because it's a Yakuza game. Of course you'd do that.
Yeah.
And then there are summons which I didn't really get to use because I had to unlock them. But there's
the one everyone has seen is the crab one, I think,
which is amazing, which is fantastic. There's another one that's going around which doesn't make a lot of sense until you've played one of the other Yakuza games, which is also really funny at the same time. But again, context. There's also go-karting in this game now. It's kind of not bad.
Okay, well, there's going to be mini games in it. I think.
There is go, which
it's
is
a fucking Yakuza game. They're going to have baseball,
straight up.
They're going to have pinball, darts.
It is straight up Mario Kart. So you have like guns, you have coins, you have speed strips.
Is it? Oh my god! Is it that fucking bullshit Nintendo ripoff company that runs around Tokyo? That would be so good.
Nintendo.
Well, it is called Dragon Kart, so sure, why not? And I did. And fuck you! I actually did it on this trip. I got some good footage out of it. Screw you, Patrick.
Those guys are illegal and a menace to tourists.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. I nearly died, but that's beside the point. I also played this. It has to have this other game where it's like you're picking up trash. And it's kind of like Pac-Man. It's really fun and weirdly great. So,
Travis.
10 out of 10 guy. It's great. Again, like that's all I got out of it because I can't understand the story, so I don't know what's going on. But it's cool. Like the system works. Like I am completely on board for this. I will totally be buying this when it comes out in the future because this game comes out in like 4 months in Japan and sometime next year for us.
That's actually crazy. Their localization process has really improved in recent years as well. So it's probably only going to be like, I would estimate less than 6 months between the Japanese release and the English release.
I would agree. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that because I think Judgment wasn't that long.
Judgment was like 3 months or 4 months, man.
They really sped that process up since like
it's because Yakuza 0 was such a huge hit.
Yeah, it really feels like that was kind of the catalyst for making things move a little bit faster. Because I feel like Yakuza 6 got over here reasonably quickly.
Relatively fast
and then
as well,
they
yeah.
did
Judgment was very fast,
Yeah.
and the remastered collection, the two HD Kiwami games, and then the remastered collection came out, like a month ago? Less than that.
Well, Yakuza 3, the Yakuza 3 part came out of it like a month ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're going to stagger those. Speaking of moving very fast, tell me about buses.
Oh man, yeah.
Sick!
Yeah, I've been playing Bus Simulator, which,
Other things that honk. Speaking of things that honk.
Yes, definitely. Man. So, I think there's something about like these kinds of slow games that I think is kind of cool because they're kind of chill and they're...
Is this the same studio as Truck Simulator?
No, man. No. These games are made just by like these random European studios that like no one's ever heard of before, but they've probably made like hundreds of these games in the past.
Okay, so James, can I interrupt this super quick because I have to ask a very important question.
Sure, please.
Is this a legitimately good game or ironically good? Because that's the important thing with a lot of these simulator games is that you got some like I play a lot of American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck, and I fucking love those games. Then you got things like everything else is just ironically funny or ironically good.
I don't know where Farming Simulator lands, but yeah.
Farming Simulator is just dead set boring. Like I'm a big fan.
It's got its own dedicated horde, but I think everything does.
It really, yeah. Well, I mean, look, it does, and this game is fine. Like, I wish it looked better. If it looked nicer, then it would probably seem better to me because, the whole creating a bus service in a town, and then like they've created this like not very big space for you to drive around that you've got to set up your own bus route. You're setting up your own bus company. That's the whole thing around all of these games.
Okay.
And there's no bells and whistles whatsoever. It's pretty bare bones. You set up the first stop, you will set up the stops, you buy a bus, you can eventually hire employees and get them to run the bus service for you as well, and you will see them out on the road and they'll flash their lights at you as they drive past to say hello.
Nice.
You can get out of your bus and run around. You can run around in third person mode.
It's the driver
outside of your bus.
The driver 3 of bus simulators.
Yeah, right. That's a thing that you can do, but like ultimately most of the stuff that you do, like 95% of the game is all done with you inside the bus, like either driving it or interacting with the passengers inside the bus. And that could be like, 90% of the time it's just you taking them from one stop to the next and just doing your route. You can operate a machine, like a ticket machine, which I did for the most part, but like I actually ended up turning that off because the little highlight on the change, there's this little mini game that pops up, which is basically someone will ask you for this type, this type of ticket for this type of fare, and they'll need this many tickets, and you've just got to select the right one and then give them the right amount of change. And the highlights on the little change thing was really hard to read for some reason. Like it's almost impossible to see. And I'm like, you don't need to make that at all difficult. Like I should be able to see how much change I'm going to give this person. I ended up just turning it off because it was too much of a pain in the ass to try and deal with. Which is weird because that's like 20% of the game right there is what I'm turning off, like giving these people change. But one cool aspect of the game, I suppose, is that they have these random events that go on, and that could just be like the doors won't. No, nothing that exciting. It
okay.
There's a loud passenger. There's a passenger listening to loud music.
Oh my god.
Or there's a passenger who's like blocking the doorway and the doors won't close.
It really is a bus simulator, huh?
Yeah, or somebody needs to get off the bus really desperately and they're like, oh, no, wait, please stop, I need to get off the bus right now. And you can either choose to let them off or not, and that will affect your
rating,
the happiness rating that you get at the end, which affects how much money you get. And basically, it's all about accumulating money and building up a business, building up a fleet of buses and hiring people to ride them. And
holy crap! This is Truck Simulator, but with buses. Holy crap!
Well, yeah, and it's just that, and like I think there's like 8 or 9 different buses for you to pick from. You'll eventually unlock them all after a fair amount of time, but it's quite grindy, and I don't know, it's fine. I'd probably enjoy it a lot more if I could use, like, if I was on PC and I could use my wheel. But this releases the it's PC Simulator. Bus Simulator.
PC Simulator.
I know, right? Fuck.
They haven't released PC Simulator.
I know they do. They have a PC building simulator,
which you can buy on console now, which is fantastic.
I know it's on Switch. That's the weirdest thing in the world.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think this is a Bus Simulator 18 on PC, but it's just come out on consoles, and they sent me an Xbox code to review.
Huh.
And funnily enough, look, I don't dislike it. It's just
not your wheelhouse.
It is what it is. You know,
God damn it.
It is, and I wish that's why I'm saying I wish these games looked better, because if they were graphical powerhouses and then they could get away with being kind of this mundane, chill experience. You know, it is what it is, and that's fine. Like, it does what it does kind of well, but it's just really bland looking and
not exciting.
No, and like even in the there's dynamic weather in it, so like even if the rain just sort of starts coming down, it's just all very like computational and I don't know, it's very strange. There's no like there's no life to it. There's no life to any of those games. Sorry?
This game sounds so fascinating. It feels like, okay, they have everything here. There's something really cool and interesting, but it just seems like it's not quite there.
It's just...
Well, what it reminds me of is like Cities in Motion or Transport Tycoon or something. Totally. That's what I want to play instead. It's so focused on... like, in some ways it is kind of fascinating because it is so focused on the minutiae of being a bus driver. And the buses actually feel good to drive, funnily enough. They actually feel kind of good to get around in.
Okay.
And... you know, like trying to account for the length of a bus or trying to drive like one of those double bendy buses around a tight city is like an interesting challenge in some ways, but also it's just banal, you know?
Yeah.
It just is what it is. It's Bus Simulator. So, you know, and it's fine. I didn't dislike it, but also like it's the most like 5 out of 10 game you'll ever play.
That's again. I'm hearing about this from someone who really likes Euro Truck and American Truck. Like, those games are phenomenal in what they do, but it seems like this game almost sounds like it's up my alley there. But
Truck Simulator has like a little bit of flavor to it, you know, and this is just gruel. Yep. You know,
okay,
gruel.
Fair enough. That's a bummer.
Do you share the same opinions on Borderlands 3? Is that also gruel?
Actually, no. I am actually really enjoying Borderlands 3, which is weird. Well, no, actually, it's not weird.
Well, it's not that weird, is it?
Like, it's weird in the context that every other writer I've spoken to about Borderlands 3 kind of just hates it, which is fair enough. That's fine. I don't expect it to
so
everybody.
James, Patrick, are you playing much of this? No,
I'm not a Borderlands guy. I don't like those games.
So, James, I want you to convince me because I kind of, sort of want to play this. And I got a bunch of friends of mine who are really into it, but I'm like, I do not want to. There are however many games out there that do what Borderlands does, and I feel in a lot of cases it does it a lot better than
How long
what
has it been since Borderlands 2? Like 7 years?
Yeah.
7 years.
Like 2012, I think it was.
Yeah, 7.
Because the thing that I've heard most of... there's two things I've heard about this game. So, the writing isn't great, but I expect out of Borderlands, because I think those games are not very well written at all. But the other thing is, just it feels like this is a game that's just Borderlands 2, but it is a nicer version of Borderlands 2. So, what...
And thank you, Jamie,
those
for
are
telling us all
I'm
about
getting.
Borderlands 3. No, you're pretty much on the money, man. So, like, I tweeted this out, like, last week when I first started playing it, but I kind of felt that, like, describing it as just more Borderlands would be doing it a bit of a disservice, and I'm like, there must be something more there, but I swear to God, it is like riding an old bike. If you've played Borderlands before, you may as well have played Borderlands 3. Like it.
Fans of the series.
Seriously, it is a love letter to the fans of the Borderlands games. Like love it or leave it. Here's the thing. It turns out I am a bit of a fan of the Borderlands games. I'm not necessarily a fan of their writing. I don't think the writing is very good, but I also don't think it's terrible in the way that some people have been saying it is. I think these games have a tone about them for sure, and whether that tone vibes with you or not is probably going to have a big weight on how you feel about this game as a whole, because that tone permeates through everything that this game does. And it's just very tongue-in-cheek. Everything it does is super tongue-in-cheek. Like, a lot of the bosses are these big, horrible dude bros with like annoying attitudes and annoying dialogue, but that's what the game is. And like, shooting those guys for me is a big part of where a lot of the fun, cathartic kind of nature of these games shines through. The shooting, I think, is really great. I think a lot of the combat is really excellent. It's really varied, which is what Borderlands has always done. Like, obviously, with its huge variety of guns, there's a lot of the weapons have elemental properties to them, which factor into the combat in all manner of ways. So you'll have enemies that have armor that you'll need like corrosive weapons to help pull down, or they'll have shields which you'll need EMP guns to take down, or they could just be people and fleshy and you can use fire on them, and that will be more effective. And there's a lot of that stuff to consider, but then there's also the properties of each of the different types of weapons that come from like the 8 different gun manufacturers in the game. Hyperion guns will have a shield at the front, whereas Jacob's guns will have a smaller magazine, but they'll always be the more powerful weapons. Like, they'll always do more damage at the end of the barrel. And I suppose, like, I think for me, part of my enjoyment for this series comes from having played the first game and then also having spent a lot of time in the second game with a lot of friends, particularly before I became a games critic. I played a lot of Borderlands, so it's interesting for me to come at this from that aspect and sort of looking at it now with a more critical eye and being able to see a lot of the problems with the Borderlands games. But also, I'm a little bit surprised that a lot of the criticism hasn't just focused on how much this is just a more of a Borderlands game, rather than kind of a lot of the narrative being around how quote unquote bad the writing is. I don't think the writing is bad. It's just the subject matter is shit. Like, they don't do a whole lot. Like, the characters are all very purposefully one note, and like caricatures of like Mad Max caricatures of.
We haven't played that out in 2K. And then, what was that? Tales from the Borderlands?
Yeah, so
people fucking loved that shit.
So I never played Tales from the Borderlands. I had never played a Telltale game.
Okay, sorry, James. I'm going to drop. It's like you should really go play it. It's really good.
I don't know can you even still play those games? Are they still around?
I'm pretty sure you still can. You should be able to.
Did people like the writing of pre-sequel as well?
So,
it depends on who you speak to.
Yeah,
I've heard, like, I think a lot of people that really like it tend to be Australians.
Yep.
No, that's true.
So that's me.
It's very Space Australian, isn't it?
I liked pre-sequel a lot. But that's also because it did have like this tinge of Australian humour to it, which I kind of appreciated. And I suppose like that kind of also appreciates that kind of also like aligns with a little bit of like the rural bumpkin in me, because like I grew up in rural New South Wales, so like whether I like it or not, that is just kind of partially ingrained with me, and it kind of spoke to me on that level. And I suppose that's a part of why I like the Borderlands games to begin with, is that like they are kind of this real tongue-in-cheek to a fault it just doesn't at all take itself seriously, which I kind of appreciate in some ways. Like I said, I think a lot of the combat is really great. The way that it doles out loot could be a little bit more generous. But ultimately, if you've played Borderlands, like, it is 100% just more Borderlands with some like quality of life improvements. Like, you can fast travel from pretty much anywhere at this point now. You can still only fast travel to certain locations, but you can fast travel to anywhere from. You can fast travel to certain locations from anywhere at any time. The inventory is still the same, which is just weird. It's heavily gated in some ways, and I don't know if that's because they feel like that's a part of the Borderlands thing, is that that's one way to make money, is to like hoard all the weapons that you find and then just sell them off later, and sort of that inventory management side of things becomes just a part of the loot experience. I don't know, it's never really been something that I've enjoyed all that much. I don't know that many people who enjoy inventory management, except for like the Marie Kondo types. But
that just sounds like a chore. Like, from what I've played of those games, just feel like the one part of it's like, dealing with this menu.
They did a little bit to sort of mitigate it by creating something called base score, or like just a basic score for the weapons, for everything, gear score essentially. Which, and the jury's kind of out on how accurate this is, but like, it's been pretty much okay for me. It's kind of just takes all of the variables on a gun into account and gives you just a base score, and lets you know. It's just a quick indicator as to whether or not something's going to be good or not. And
light levels?
No, not that bad. Like Borderlands has only ever done the it's just level gated, so you just have to be a certain level to be able to use this kind of loot. And usually this game is actually pretty good in that I've never gotten anything that is more than one level away from where I'm at. Whereas
that's
in
good.
the past, you used to
nice.
get ones where like you could be level 15, you get like a level 20 shield and be like, what the fuck are you giving me this for? Like, I'm just going to be looking at it for the next 5 hours. Thanks. I don't know. Look, if you didn't like Borderlands, you're not going to like it. You're not going to magically like it now because Borderlands 3 has suddenly come out. This is just more of that. If anything, I think the most disappointing part of it is probably its performance more than anything else. I'm playing on an Xbox One X, and I'm playing in resolution mode, which is locked at 30 frames a second. Because the performance mode, which is supposed to be running at 60 frames a second, is only 1080p, and it's probably closer to like averaging 50, 55 frames a second. Like, it's skips, which is totally weird. It's very strange when you consider that the Handsome Collection runs the enhanced edition, which is on the X, runs at 4K 60.
Like, I would kind of always say the thing I've heard about Gearbox is that Gearbox is, despite all the bullshit surrounding their company for better or worse, like, those games, their games that they make have always been technically very competent.
Well, yeah, unless it's Colonial Marines, but we don't talk about that.
Oh, well, that game has some other bullshit which we won't get into.
Indeed. So I don't know. That's probably the most disappointing aspect of this whole thing, like outside of external of Gearbox's own bullshit. Which, just to touch on that, the part of the reason why I decided, because I bought the game, I wasn't sent a copy, which totally makes sense. If I was 2K, I wouldn't send me a copy either.
I mean, they had that whole bloody controversy about not sending people or sending people whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was there was a little bit of weirdness around.
Let's talk about that off mic.
Borderlands and whatnot. But so I went out and bought it, and I think a big part of why I did that was for all of the people who actually went out and made it, like the actual developers themselves, and not, whatever. I know that Pitchford's out there and done some stupid shit, but I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about the teams who actually, boots on the ground, doing the work. I want to see what they've done.
Yeah.
And so far, look, I'm totally enjoying it, but I was incredibly surprised at just how much more Borderlands this is. Like that still just blows me away a little bit. There is a bit of a nice, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a bit of a nice nod to pre-sequel, probably about 10 to 15 hours in, which is nice, gameplay-wise. So, there's that to look forward to. But, yeah, it's cool. I like it. I'll probably come back to you a little bit more on that later. Especially if I get to play some co-op. I haven't had a chance to play any co-op yet.
Rightio.
I don't have any friends, so... No. What are you going to do?
I mean, look, I would join in, but I think if I was getting into it, I'd be on PC these days.
Yep, so, that's fair enough.
So I have to deal with all that fun stuff. But I kind of asked a lot about that because there are just a lot of games that do the Borderlands thing, but also have some weird takes on it. Like, you've got Destiny, you've got Warframe, you've got one other one. As far
as like shooter looters go,
looters.
I was thinking of saying that, but I just... That's one strike
it's
for you,
said
Patrick.
now. It's been said.
As far as like shooter looters go, I like the way that Borderlands does its loot.
Okay.
Just the variation on it. It doesn't. I mean, yes, they're all guns, but like there is like.
Sometimes they're swords.
Sometimes they're shotguns that fire out rockets that fire out like a mortar or something, or sometimes there's
sick.
Like there's some really weird guns and with some weird cool shit that they do, which I really appreciate. And that's kind of one of the things that I like about these games is when you just find that one weird weapon that's like no one's ever heard of or seen before, and it's just that's kind of what creates the stories in these games, I think, is like, oh, what did you find? Did you find this? Did you find that? And this also does that. Just I know I said I didn't touch on, I haven't played any co-op yet, but one of the things I do know, and it makes you pick early on in the game, is you don't just pick difficulty, but you also pick how you want the game to handle loot for anyone who comes in, for anyone who drops in. So either it can be like the old school Borderlands style where loot is a single instance. So if somebody picks something up, that's it. It's gone. Nobody else can get it. Or you can have everyone has their own instance of loot. So their own instance. So which means you open up a chest and everybody gets their own thing. So like...
Okay.
I can open up a chest and
separately as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's all totally separate,
cool.
and everybody gets their own shit. So it's a really neat way of handling, of giving people that kind of a choice, and also opening up the game to like for players of all levels to try and play together and even things out a little bit. Because I think it also does some like level balancing, along those lines. But anyway, Borderlands 3, what a surprise! I'm enjoying it.
Fair enough. No, that sounds. It sounds interesting.
It is interesting. If anything, poor Patrick. I know he's probably bored to death right now.
We have just one last thing on the list that we actually skipped over very quickly, and I remember this because you put a tweet of it or something like that, Jamie. But this PC Engine Mini, what's up?
Oh, right. So one of the things I did in Tokyo Game Show was Konami had like a booth there, and they had like, hey, you can go play the PC Engine Mini or the TurboGrafx Mini, which is their little mini console, which is powered by a lot of the same tech that
all the other mini shit is, yeah.
Yeah, the developer M2 put into their Mega Drive Mini, which is out now.
They like all pretty much the same thing with just a different shell on them?
Pretty much. Like a lot of the same, like the interface is exactly the same. The fact that you can switch between English and Japanese language is pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
But kind of the thing that's really interesting about it is so a lot of these mini consoles will have different games depending on the region. So Japan will get some games that is more suited to them. So let's say
to kind of use in that market or something.
Yeah, so to kind of use the classic example, like the SNES Mini had like a couple like a Fire Emblem game, I think, or something along those lines, where we got Earthbound as a trade-off, which is really weird. Which is really weird, but I'll fucking take it. So this little console has a heap of games dedicated for the Western audience, but also a heap of Japanese games for all audiences. So basically, every version of this console, depending on no matter where it's sold, will have the exact same game list. So you can basically play a whole heap of Japanese games that are completely untranslated.
Oh, fantastic.
Wild.
And just never released out of Japan, I assume, since they're...
Yeah, so you got a lot of things like, say, oh, you could just go play Snatcher in Japanese if you really want to.
Oh my god,
fantastic.
that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
It is. It absolutely is. And, like, I don't have any nostalgia for the PC Engine or the TurboGrafx because I never played it. But there's like the fact of the matter is that you can just go buy a console now that has like the best Castlevania game in the form of Runner of Blood. Great, awesome. You can legally go buy a copy of Snatcher now because that game has not been re-released since fucking 1994 or whenever the hell it was released.
Fantastic.
It's crazy. Like, again, this is for a really specific niche of people, and I kind of want to get one because it looks really cool. But
I honestly don't know why anybody who doesn't want to get into emulation just doesn't build themselves a fucking Mister and just get on with it.
Okay, because there are reasons why people don't want to fuck around with that, James. For some people, it's a lot of hassle, and I say this as somebody who has.
It probably is a lot of hassle. Like, I'm sure if I was to sit down and fucking try to build one, I'd be like, "Fuck me, this is a lot of hassle."
James, as your lawyer, I strongly encourage you to discontinue this line of conversation.
Let's just say, as somebody who has bought a Raspberry Pi for that exact same reason and has loaded up with all these games that he kind of wants to play, sometimes it's nice having official-ish controllers and a nice curated list of games. That's all.
Something you don't have to worry about. Yeah, it's all right. I get it.
But tell us more about the Tokyo Game Show, though. But, like, what else did you see there? Obviously, there's the news that came out of it, but honestly, I looked through it very quickly, and most of it was just like, Death Stranding, we piss around for 2 hours.
Oh, God,
Neo 2, Sekiro, whatever, I don't know. Just lots of updates of stuff, and I'm not the kind of person who really looks at preview stuff anymore these days, so just none of it was very, like, new. There wasn't a lot of new announcements to me.
Right, so I guess
that was my feeling on it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like, I guess for me, it's like a lot of just walking around because again, this is because a lot of TGS is not dedicated to people like myself or yourself or even James or Hope or anyone else really.
Well, it's consumer focused, so
and it's dedicated to a Japanese audience. So there's a lot of stuff there that will never get released in the West.
Yeah, how big was the Grand Blue Hall?
Did you
surprisingly not there?
Oh, okay.
Did you?
You were saying that.
Sorry.
I was just going to ask. Did you end up? So were you going there as press, or did you go there just because? Fuck it, I'm going. There.
Well, look, I wanted to go to Japan anyway because I really like going to Japan. But also the fact of the matter is that I've never done TGS. So I figured, fuck it, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I've done it once.
It's interesting. The fact is it's. Because my experience of a lot of trade shows is, so I did E3 6 years ago, and that was great. It was really interesting kind of just seeing, like, what is a trade show that is, what's a actual trade show like? Because my experience has always been, the last few years has always been PAX Australia, which is great, but it's a different thing.
Yep.
So it's interesting going here and seeing, like, how do they organize it? So you walk around, because the way it's 4 days, so 2 of which are set up as business days. So if you're media, if you're someone actually in the industry, or you're an invited guest, you can go and it's manageable. Like there's still lines, you can skip them if you know how to skip them, if you know how to actually be a proper journalist. But I don't. That's okay. But a lot of it's like it's manageable. Like there's room to move about with. So that's kind of the takeaway. You can actually move around.
Days?
Sorry?
You got to go there on the business days?
I only went there on the business days because
cool.
I went with people who have been there multiple times and they're saying, hey, you probably shouldn't go on the public days because it is a public show and
there's
it
a lot
is
of
a nightmare.
People. Yeah, I bet.
Like, so I woke up Saturday morning and I'm like, okay, I'll just go for Twitter, see what's happening. And someone retweeted a tweet from Sega Japan. And it's like, they did like a time lapse of the line getting into TGS. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just watching this. I'm like, oh my God. It just kept going and going and going and going. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, I guess kind of the other thing that I took away from this is that they also have like there's a merch hole, so you can go buy, like they just give you shit for all this random stuff. So you walk in and play a game like, oh, here's a clear file, or here's like a sticker, here's some stickers. And if you really want to go spend some money, they actually have like a section for merch and esports. So if you're like me, if you want soundtracks, a lot of pins, because I think at one point I went to a booth and I spent I want to say about $110 on pins.
Nice.
it's a lot. I felt really bad about it, but then I felt a little bit better because okay, so this is going to be something really specific to me, so I do apologize for taking this time up. So there's a TV show out there called Game Center CX. Has anyone heard of this?
Yeah. Kacho.
Kacho on. James, have you heard of this?
No, I don't know.
Okay, are you familiar with the image? Are you familiar with the image of a sad Asian man with the words "His smile, optimism gone"?
What? No.
Okay, the long and skinny of it is there's a Japanese comedian who is not particularly good at games, but who has cultivated a personality, basically, a show business personality about playing games and then just being completely defeated by them all the time and eventually powering through and winning or something like that. And he's gotten to the point where he he met Iwata and stuff before he died. He's a big gaming celebrity, that sort of thing.
Neat.
And recently he met Shigesato Itoi, the writer of the Mother series, which is really cool. And so basically they have a presence at every TGS. Like, it's a show that I really like because it's basically a Let's Play but without people being fuckwits, which is nice.
And it was this was actually there's still a lot of people being fuckwits, but in the fun ed for TV sense, actually.
Yeah, and because he's an actual comedian. Like, there's granted it's Japanese comedy, so it's a very different very different waveform. But it's good watching. But it's a show that if you're watching this outside of Japan it's impossible to do it legally because it's of a whole heap of reasons. So it was really nice to be able to go to their booth. I think I bought a t-shirt from them. I think I gave it to the producer of the show, which was really fucking cool because he's actually a character on the show.
Hey, nice.
And it's like I just mentioned, hey, by the way, big I did the whole big fan. It's really nice to be able to give you guys some money for this. So
did he?
I don't think he gave a shit.
Can you speak Japanese?
That'd be cool if it was on Netflix or something. That'd be great.
It would be really cool because it'd be great. But I was just more or less it was morally really good. It felt really great. And then I just looked at lines for the rest of those days because they were just getting too long. Like, I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it was like, oh, do you want to wait 60 minutes? I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to wait an hour to play a video game. It's probably not that good anyway.
I think that's the thing about almost every trade show and almost every consumer show I've been to as well. It's just any public setting is not the right place to play anything ever, really. So
I couldn't.
It's just I only go there for the closed door stuff and to meet friends, basically.
Yeah, there were moments those are demos you can play as well, like multiplayer demos where they have someone guiding you through it. I'm like, okay, I can't speak any Japanese. I can barely understand Japanese. So I'm like, do you really want me to play co-op with people?
Give it a go.
Thank you.
That's the customer service mentality, It doesn't matter how incompetent you may look. They are just like, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe you can
Patrick, honestly,
share in the universe.
I did 8 months of customer service. Don't talk to me about customer service, please.
Well, I mean, honestly, on the business days at least, there's going to be plenty of white-looking people, foreign-looking people wandering around who do probably speak perfect Japanese, So
of course,
it's definitely not an assumption that can just be like, oh, it's a white person, they can't play. That's not safe. So.
Of course. But look, it was interesting. Like, it's really it's so far out of the way because you'd hear Tokyo Game Show like, oh, it's in that's
in Chiba.
No, that's in Chiba. So it is the same train line as
prefecture.
It's in the same train line as Disneyland, which is crazy. Because I'm a big Disney dork, so I figured I could just go fuck the show right off and just go to Disneyland. It's really the same experience.
How tempting!
Oh, you go there, you step outside. There's a Final Fantasy VII booth. You're just like, fuck.
No escape. But look, it's cool. I was really happy to go in and just do it and just see what it's all about and see what a internationally recognized trade show was like.
What about the games that you saw there? Did you what were the sort of things that they had on display? Like, was there anything there that kind of caught your eye that you hadn't heard of before, you hadn't seen?
Let's see, actually. So, because they showed off a whole heap of new Yakuza 7 stuff, so I stuck around to watch all that. There's a trailer they released, they actually released this to the audience first and they put it out afterwards. So there were a lot of signs was do not take photography off the screen because you just don't. I guess a lot of the indie stuff, I didn't get names, which is kind of really unfortunate, but
I suppose it'd be hard to get names.
Yeah, a lot of the indie stuff was really cool. I somehow sat down and played a VR boyfriend game, which was interesting.
Oh yeah,
nice.
That one's been talked about as well.
So there is footage of me playing this game where I somehow got proposed to by a guy in Japanese.
Good job.
Nice.
It's very hard to get to that stage in a relationship.
I didn't even do anything. I just sat down, here, pick this guy. I'm like, okay. And the guy just gives me a ring. It's like, oh, he's proposing to you. I'm just sitting there wait, what?
Wait, what? How did this happen?
Ultimate games, very good.
Didn't even take me out for dinner yet.
Good they're getting
Like-
in the VR market as well.
Oh yeah, no, this is phone VR, by the way, which is
fantastic.
even more interesting.
Wow. Accessible VR.
Yep, absolutely. Like they gave me like a Google Cardboard thing and everything, dude. It was that level of stuff.
Oh wow,
It's
Sweet.
great.
that's
I'm
cool.
trying to think, is there anything else there that was interesting and really cool that I really wanted to see? Like they had like a lot of they had a lot of cool displays of stuff. Like so you go past the Koei Tecmo booth and there's like the newest Atelier character who I'm blanking on the name right now because I don't give a shit about that series. They have like a monster there from Neo 2, which I really wanted to play, but I completely forgot to line up for. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Capcom had like a massive Monster Hunter booth because Iceborne just came out and it just dominated everywhere. And like I'm literally walking around Shibuya and they're just playing the Iceborne theme for no actual reason aside from hey, the game is out, so go play it. I'm like, I don't have a working PS4 and I play on PC, so I'm waiting like 3 fucking months for this.
God damn.
Fantastic.
That's like it was good.
It's
Like
weird that they don't have PC parity with that.
Pardon?
sorry.
I was sorry. I just was thinking about. I was thinking about how weird it is that they don't have PC parity yet with Monster Hunter.
I
Monster
do
Hunter
not
World.
know why.
I understand it from the point of view that the Japanese PC market is probably just not as big as like anything they can do with the console-based stuff.
Probably, yeah, you're probably right.
But I also don't understand it because Capcom's not too bad with parity for their other titles, or at least
Yeah,
I
and
think
they're-
DMC5 at least. So
And their
I
PC
don't know
ports
why-
their PC versions are usually generally pretty good right now. Like it's not
So
like, but I know that Mon Hun is in this weird state where. Sorry, I'm interrupting, but it's in this weird state where it's not. For a long time, it was not as good as the console versions.
I must imagine that the games as a service model is not conducive to whatever pipeline they have set up is not conducive to spreading it across PC development at the same time. Would be
Maybe?
my guess.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I mean, that's obviously an oversight, and maybe Monhan World I think is one of the first ones to go really big outside Japan, and part of that is not just the console stuff but also the PC stuff. I think so.
it is now Capcom's biggest selling game.
It
Yeah.
is their biggest selling game for good reason.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's something that we'll see when they reboot to the next iteration, next sequel or whatever.
Sure.
Iceborne being some sort of interstitial, I guess. So
Yeah. Right. Cool. Well, thanks for that, Jamie.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah. That's rad.
more Japanese game reporting to come.
A little bit more news going on, just sort of from around.
I'd love to talk about Bit Summit at some point if I get to go again.
Oh god, I'd love to go. I genuinely love to go.
What is
Any-
Bit
Did you make it to the
Summit?
8.4 party, by the way?
The what? Sorry,
Did you make it to any of 8.4's outings?
I am not cool enough to get invited to those parties.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
sad.
I know
think
one
you just
person who
messaged
did
Mark
go,
back
but
to
he
you and
act-
just like.
yeah, I'm like
well.
I gave him. Sorry, who was this we're talking about?
You could probably just talk to Mark MacD or something, who's at Acquire or no Inspire. No, I forget. Whatever.
Enhance. He's with
Enhance.
Miz.
Yeah.
I maybe like I could just say like, hey, I maybe, but I did like DMing people I've never interacted with. It's weird. I'm weird.
Yeah,
Like that.
it's a bit strange, but yeah, I don't know. It's worth just asking for stuff because sometimes people just like, yeah, whatever, just turn up. We're gonna have noodles. It's like great.
Fucking A.
Yeah. So news-wise, I didn't gather too much. There was actually quite a lot of stuff that happened over the last 2 weeks, but we've been actually playing video games.
That's
So.
Yeah,
the
who'd have
thing,
thunk it?
is where kind of we focus a little bit more on the games, I suppose. There's always going to be news that's going to be a little bit interesting, and we'll touch on it when we can. A bit like this, there was a interesting thread on Resetera, which so a few weeks ago, months.
Alex,
About a month ago?
no, it's about a week or two.
Yeah.
Like
Alex Walker
when a whole bunch of the refused classification stuff came out, we talked about it.
That's
then,
right,
But
yeah, so-
Alex Walker revealed that a game called Bonaire from Rockstar had been refused classification in Australia, which was weird because no one knew what that was or had heard anything about it. Someone
That's,
messaged the classification board and they were like, "Oh, it's a mistake," and then they took it off. And then very soon after that, RDR2 Red Dead Redemption 2 PC version popped up. Also refused classification,
Wow.
which is a great way to find out about these things.
Yeah.
RDR2 PC has not been announced as far as we know, so to see it pop up as being refused is, just sort
Weird.
of like, oh, you had a present, but it's gone now.
Yeah, that is
Well,
interesting.
wouldn't that be an interesting game to launch your newly established launcher with?
Oh yeah, that would be something.
That's right. They do have a launcher. Is it coming or is it out now?
It's
Has it
out.
just launched?
It's out.
If you get it now, you can get a copy of San Andreas for free if you really want to play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas again.
Oh
Wow.
shit, here we go again.
Thank you.
I love.
Oh my God.
I actually quite like San Andreas. I like Vice City more, but those games are very old at this point.
Yeah, they haven't
So
aged all
old.
that well.
Do they get Scholarship Edition Bully? I don't know.
So it's up it's up there. You can totally buy it if you really want to.
Yeah. Do they have table tennis?
No.
God damn it!
Deal's off.
You'll need your Xbox One for that.
The deal is off. No table tennis. So a big.
I don't know, like this. Go on. I'm interrupting. Go on. Sorry, James.
Oh, you're right. I'd like to move these things along.
Yeah.
There was.
There's not really much else to say other than it doesn't exist and it's been refused classification. Weird.
Yeah, sorry, PC folks, you get shafted again. Apple Arcade.
So we talked a little bit about the Apple Arcade earlier. I think the only thing that jumped out at me particularly was Choo Choo Rocket, because that was a complete announcement, I think, right? But this thing has like 50 games right now, and then like 100 games to come, or whatever.
And
I don't know.
There's a heap of them too. Like
there's a shitload.
There's
and
quite
a lot
there's
of them
a few here that I recognise. Like there's a couple of Australian ones that I recognise. Like oh, where's it gone?
They're just throwing money at it, right?
Projection
Developers, they just
want
to get it. I mean, this is the sort of thing that the bloody Australia Desk editor actually sat down and was like, "Oh yeah, I bet you're excited about this." And I was like, "I don't have an Apple device, so not really." But like, still, it's like cool to see these games, appear.
This actually landed with a lot more of a wave than I was expecting. It actually caused quite a lot of buzz, and there's a lot of people still talking about it, and talking about it in really positive light too. Like from what I've heard as well from the developer side, it's been reasonably positive too. I'm sure there's I'm sure there are some.
There's some stuff here that I do actually want to check out, like Overland, Shinsekai, Shantae.
Overland is one.
I have Shinsekai on my iPad. I have not booted it up yet. I need a controller for Shantae because
I'm hearing good stuff about what else here. What the Golf? I'm not super into golf games, but that's not too bad.
Yeah, Projection's on there, which I need to play, which is the big thing from a bunch of Sydney developers.
Projection's really good. Well, it was the last time I played it, which was a little while ago. And No Way Home, which is from SMG Studio, which is another studio here in Sydney as well.
Hey. What else is cool that I really play? I play. There's the new Us 2 game, which I'm blanking on. The Assemble with Care, which is kind of really, really cool, but it's not. It's Us 2 being Us 2, so they do really small, beautiful levels, but they have a story now they have to explain through text, and it's... I don't know, I really like Monument Valley. I really like those games.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And there was also...
It's also on here, but go on, I'll drop one more thing if that's cool.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a game called Dear Reader on Apple Arcade right now, which does a really interesting way of taking classic literature and making it into more of a game, like in a really sensible, beautiful way. It's really worth checking out. This feels like they took a free-to-play game and actually didn't make it as free-to-play, but it does seem really cool, and what
was that called?
Kind of stopped. Dear Reader.
Dear
Readers.
Dear Readers.
Yeah, right. Neat. Also, another cool game that is on there is Mini Motorways from Dinosaur Polo Club.
Oh, yes. Mini Metro's expansion.
Yeah. So lots of neat stuff on Arcade. Might be worth. I'm gonna pick up a subscription. I hope to play a couple of those games over the next few weeks. Maybe we can talk about them a little bit. I don't know.
I'm more interested in the flow over to other consoles just on the basis that I don't have an Apple device. So.
Yeah, indeed. That's a bit of a shame. I've got a new iPhone coming sometime later this week. I don't know, because I'm an idiot. Because I can't help myself.
It's still good, though. It's still good.
Yeah, it's fine. And then
the
last little bit here.
Controls DLC plans for the what's the word, expansion pass? I don't know. Everything's
okay. I haven't heard about this, so I'm curious to know what.
There's three things, and they're all pretty interesting. Well, okay, one's less interesting than the other two. The first one is what is it? Exploration mode, expeditions mode, something. We don't know what that is. My guess is a horde mode sort of thing.
Yep.
Or some sort of like you get dumped into some other place on the astral plane or into some other threshold or whatever.
Yep.
The second thing is what is called Foundations, which is set in this area that you. Yeah, so you go through this little sort of like it's the roots basically of the oldest house.
Okay.
It looks kind of cool. This is probably got mixed up with the janitor sort of stuff. That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. The last thing is called AWE, which in the list of Control stands for Altered World Events, but the art of Control looks like it uses some stuff from Alan Wake.
Ooh!
looks like it has the the initial key concept art from Alan Wake, with the flashlight and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mixed with the Jesse red lights, control, people floating sort of stuff. So yeah, who knows? Alan Wake experience.
That's interesting. That could be.
I am down for that.
That could be fun.
It's very exciting. There's lots and lots of Alan Wake nods in Control. I'm not an Alan Wake person, I guess. I haven't played those games, so I'm not huge on the lore. But I'm based on Control. I'm excited about it. So
they've also got a photo mode coming. Which is it's
an official one.
Officially,
not one hack that Lance has hacked into it.
Although
magic.
I wonder if so friend of the show, Lance McDonald, is the guy who's been hacking into Control and doing a lot of the cool stuff
video games,
around.
Bloodborne into
Lance just hacks video games.
PT.
Basically.
He got really. Did you see his PT one went viral?
Lance's work tends to do that. For good reason. And but I was just going to say, I wonder if he's the reason that they came out and kind of dropped all of this news, because they did reference how a cheeky hacker had discovered that there was some sort of semblance of a photo mode in the game, but they were working on one that was actually going to be fully functional.
Yeah. Cheeky hacker is exactly the words I would use to describe Lance.
Some cool stuff coming for Control, which is awesomely exciting. We're all very happy about that here. As far as announcements that we care about, what?
So we've got a couple of short ones here. Famitsu went out and dumped a bunch of information about, what was it? So Famitsu releases guidebooks basically for video games in association with their publisher, and this one came out and it has information about DLC that hasn't been announced yet. So for Fire Emblem Three Houses, that's what we're talking about here. It's this is part of the DLC pass. So part 1 and 2 came out already, and it's mainly just costumes, maddening mode, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. But Wave 3 will have new playable characters, new activities, new costumes and battalions. I think the main thing is there's a couple things that are really big. One is there's 2 new characters, one who is Anna, who is the shopkeeper who turns up in every Fire Emblem game, and the other is Jerezita, who is a character who disappears very early on, and so it's going to be kind of interesting to have him and have conversations and S support ranks and stuff like that with him, because he's got kind of a weird story presence. New activities, sauna. There's a sauna in the game that is never unlocked. So we're gonna find out what that is.
Great. I guess we get anime spa time. Yay.
Yeah, and I like this because it is specifically spelled out in the thing, but playing with dogs and cats.
Yes.
Because there's lots of dogs and cats around Garrick Mark and you cannot pet them. So it is apparently a part of the paid DLC, which is amazing.
That blows.
Would you pay $5 to pet
mind.
the dog and or cats?
Yeah.
I will pay the money to pet the fucking cat. All right, god damn it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You pricks.
And then the rest of it is just, new stuff. So more playable characters, more support conversations, classes, blah, blah,
so,
blah, blah, blah.
I just want to interrupt this. Okay, I know way too many people who will spend God knows how much buying costumes for their favorite girl. And that's an expectation out of the publisher and the developer.
Yes.
I can't imagine hearing James now saying I will spend money to be able to pet the dog and cat just seems like such a weird subversion of this whole idea. I think it's fucking brilliant.
The cat. Let me pet the dog. I will pay you money.
You've seen this Twitter account, right?
I'll pay you money.
Petting dogs.
I have told people specifically, you can pet the dogs. Post it to the Twitter account. You get your goddamn likes, get your goddamn retweets.
Just let me connect with the computer dog, all right?
It's very important.
Just let me do it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, so when the second wave of DLC came out for the expansion pass, and they put in glasses and sports uniforms basically, and fucking Twitter went insane. So this is a successful strategy.
So basically, what you're saying is make it more anime, and people will freak out over it. Is that correct?
Fucking hell, Jamie. Let me tell you some shit. When I went into Fire Emblem, I was like, I'm scared this will be too anime. And now that I've played Fire Emblem, I want it to be more anime. I need sports days. I need some fucking more prom day or graduation or what. Yeah. Just give me fucking more anime school shit, because that is the best part of Fire Emblem.
No.
Wave 5.
No, wait.
The formal.
Wait, are you telling me Free House is a gateway drug? Shit!
They're all gateway drugs, Jamie. All the good stuff turns into gacha eventually. You can't escape it.
Okay, I'm getting my Switch. I'm destroying my copy of Fire Emblem right now. No, I can't do this.
You're too late, man. It multiplied while you weren't looking. Now it's a rare version of Fire Emblem. You can never throw it away.
Fuck.
Okay, Hope is not here to be excited about Pokemon with me, but...
I can be excited.
Well, I mean, there isn't too much to be excited about because they announced one thing, and again, the internet went mad, which is so they actually teased this in a really weird and interesting way, which was they put out here's a new Pokemon, but all the Pokemon data was corrupted, like a missing no had eaten it or something, and It was literally like all the stuff was graphicked out and like artifacted to hell or censored or whatever. And then, I don't know, a couple days later, they're just like, surprise, it's Farfetch'd. It's Sir Farfetch'd or whatever. It's just It's just this motherfucking buff-ass duck with
holding a leek sword,
with a lance and with a leek lance and a shield, which is of lettuce or something. And everyone was like, "Yeah!"
He became the meme of the day.
I don't know, whatever.
Poor Farfetch'd.
Yeah, well, he's not a goose, so he's been dethroned. But still,
it's so cool though. Like, so my exposure to this is just like I'm getting home on a train, getting back to my hotel room on a train. I'm half drunk at this point because I'm like, okay, what's going on Twitter? I gotta kill time on the train because I can't pull up my fucking Switch right now. And I just see everyone freaking out over goddamn Surfetched. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm not drunk enough to appreciate this, but it's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting about the sort of like, I don't know, they haven't actually revealed that many Pokemon for something that's coming out in 2 months or so, but at the same time, every single one of them has become a meme in some way, so it's like, I don't know, they're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, it's Pokemon, man. Like there are so many people thirsty for Pokemon. It's crazy.
Yeah. If they ever do Pokemon X Animal Crossing, people will die.
Oh, Jesus Christ. My heart just flooded.
Patrick, no. Don't kill people with that idea. Please. It's already... I'm already gutted that Animal Crossing is still in March. Like, I just want to play it
it's
now.
It's alright. I think...
make your game.
I think we all understand that the Pokemon Company don't know what to do with good ideas.
Anything, really.
Really.
Did you see all those fucking like Sports Center reporting that Ash has finally won a Pokemon League?
What was that all about?
That's so like holy shit. Pokemon's like marketing arm, like Pokemon's US marketing arm, must have like gotten them like just being like, oh shit, we can sell this. We can tell. Just people dunking, being like, yes, Ash is the perfect candidate for every job. He's a 10-year-old with 20 years of experience. Like, holy shit! Like fuck, that's some good shit.
I'm out with friends. I'm just looking at Twitter. It's like, okay, what's happening? And then, oh shit! I'm like, oh no! I could have actually been watching this as it happened. I'm like, oh no, I failed. But still,
you just know in like South America somewhere, there's like a public setting, and like just tons and tons of Brazilians being like, yeah.
Hang on, are you equating Pokemon to Dragon Ball right now, Patrick?
Probably not. But it would be great if it was. Somewhere, somehow. I mean, a Nintendo World Store in New York, probably.
Oh man.
So, do any of you have any like actual detailed information on Death Stranding? I've kind of been avoiding any information on the basis that it looks real dumb, and like I like to experience Kojima's brand of dumbness in like. No,
I'm kind of the same way. Like I have been avoiding everything in regards to this game because I'm like, part of me is like, I need to experience the dumb bullshit, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I think you have actually crossed over, and you've just you might as well just be selling me a copy of a game where you just kind of wanked on it because at this point, because that feels like a lot of this game is right now. It's just
I'm kind of fascinated. Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see if it will resolve into something or if it's literally just going to be like the world's most expensive practical joke.
This is why I don't pay attention to any of Kojima's pre-release hype marketing stuff, because it is like a lot of it is shtick. He's done a lot of it this sort of thing in the past before, and also. Like the way that he comes out and talks about story in like some kind of weird detail that it's not really detailed because you have no context. So it's like he may as well be like speaking at you in another language. It's like,
he probably is.
Yes, he generally is. But they had like a 2-hour presentation, I think, stage presentation with Kojima presenting the game and walking through like some gameplay and stuff. I think I watched about 5 minutes of it before just going, I'm cool. He pisses. Whatever. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Let's find out. The
main thing
November.
for me is just, I like it. I really love his cinematic trailers, but this, like, I was so cut on fucking Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, it was just not what I wanted in any way.
No, you didn't like Metal Gear 5. See, I thought Metal Gear 5 was like the opposite from the other Metal Gear games in that it felt really good to play, but the story wasn't finished.
Yeah, that's basically everyone thinks. It's like it's literally like the best game he has ever made. Like it is amazing, but you play the story, it's like
right. Like, and I don't play the Metal Gear games to get necessarily I don't know. Even with the rest of the Metal Gear games, it's just sort of muddle through it. Like with Metal Gear 5, he definitely made the best playing local area like stealth game, but like, and I think Ground Zeroes is actually my favorite product based on that sort of idea.
No, fair enough.
Because it's so contained.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but like MGS5, the like moment to moment is super great, but then it doesn't play out into a larger world experience in the way that you want, because every base is like a contained experience from these valleys that are separated from each other and don't really play into each other in any way. And
actually, and now that you mention that, I think some of the later game stuff where he does start to expand sort of the playable area doesn't really work all that much, especially when the skull unit comes into play.
Yeah. None of that was great.
No, I completely agree.
It was mainly frustrating.
This Ring Fit fucking thing.
I just wanted to mention this because
What is this?
So it's they basically made a Wii Fit Switch thing. Basically, it's like a controller made out of the Labo shit that turns into it's based on tension.
It's just like a ring that you stick like the Joy-Con in, so you're not going to be able to play this on the Switch Lite.
No.
And then, which is weird, but I mean, also it's just this fully featured RPG with JRPG, which is super strange. Like, it's normally the Wii Fit games are like minigame collections or whatever, or stuff that is specifically branded that way. But this is like you have to go out there and fight a extremely muscly dragon or something like that. And that's
how we're going to shed the pounds, get fit.
Go on.
And they're actually super like, yes, this game is designed for grinding because for exercise, you need to exercise every day. So you're going to have to fucking grind the shit out of this game because you're meant to exercise.
Get used to it, bitch.
I'm like, that's genius in this weird, like, it's, Nintendo is so fucking out of left field sometimes. And like, this is definitely one of the times where I'm just sort of like, wow, okay. Like, if there's any company that is pouring resources into some crazy ass bullshit, and I hope kind of works for like Blue Ocean crap or whatever, it's like
Nintendo are massive trolls. I think
this sounds good.
That.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. Let them do what they want. They're fucking good at it, apparently. Yeah. And I'm down for Nintendo doing crazy Nintendo shit because that's what they do best. Let's be honest.
Keep Nintendo weird.
Right. I think that might do us.
Yeah.
For that one.
Ooh. Anything coming up that you guys want to have a talk?
In terms of sort of the releases coming up, look,
the other thing I'm thinking of is
games coming.
The Obsidian one.
Speaking of what I've got coming up, just in terms of, I suppose, the podcast, because we've had that many games coming around that we're actually having to plan some shit out here. So we're all going to be playing Remnant from the Ashes at some point. And looking at that for a future episode. I'm also going to be doing an episode on Pro Evo versus FIFA. We're going to do eFootball Pro Evolution Soccer 2020 versus FIFA 20.
Thank you.
I still can't believe they called it that.
So if I were to tell you they named their baseball game with the eBaseball label, would you believe me?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, they said they did it.
I would believe that.
Fantastic.
Because it's all happening. Ori and the Blind Forest is coming up on the Switch soon. Oh, Tropico 6. I know someone who will be very pleased with that.
Ooh.
And then, I don't know, October is just... Actually, it looks like early October is kind of busy, and then mid-October kind of quietens down a little bit, which is respectful. And then late October is just like, oh, video games are back.
Yeah. I think Outer Worlds is the big one for late October, but closer to now, I'm interested in Somnium Files, the AI. It's the new Takashi game, which is the 999 Zero Escape guy.
I bought a copy of that, and I can't wait to play it, but I need time.
Yeah, I'm playing River City. I'm still playing River City Girls on and off. It's a little bit. I don't know. I don't think I love brawlers, but I do like this game, I guess. That's so cool. I'm invested in like grinding to get past things, cool. I guess. Like it's just River City Girls. It's good. It's fun. I might have a more considered opinion later because it's not. I don't know. Part of me wants to play it like Marvel, but it's just not that reactive.
What is though?
Yeah, I'm vaguely thinking of looking at Daemon X Machina at some point.
I've played a little bit of that. It just reminds me.
So.
It just reminds me of Armored Core.
And I've never played any of those games, so I don't know if I like those yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine, but it definitely feels of an age. But I mean, I haven't played all that much. I've only played for about 45 minutes.
You got any plans coming up game wise besides Somnium Files, Jamie?
Well, I bought a copy of Link's Awakening, so I probably need to play through that because I bought like 5 Switch games while I was over there. Technically 6 because there's a certain somebody who requested me to buy him a Switch game. I'm not going to name them, but they like this character called Hilda a lot. I don't know why. So I bought Something Files is one I'm looking forward to. I want to play more Link's Awakening because the game is cute. I bought the Tokyo 2020 game because I'm like, it's actually I kind of really like the demo.
Is that the Mario?
And it's the Olympics one?
No. So Sega are releasing 2 of these games. There's one that's just Tokyo 2020, which is a semi-realistic one, which it's not really realistic at all. It's completely in English, which is fucking nuts, and which is great. It's I've also seen footage of Mario and Sonic one, which looks. I want to play the game. It looks crazy good. Yeah. I guess kind of the only thing I'm looking forward to, and this is because I just got a horrible reminder of it, is that Destiny 2 goes free to play next week, and the new expansion launches next week. If you're one of those people who's switching over to Battle.net, switching over from Battle.net to Steam because of the PC version, go finish Forsaken because you have 8 days. Because otherwise they are resetting progress for everybody.
Wow.
Oh, what? Okay, great.
So if you haven't finished it. Go finish it.
It's the purge. It's happening. I mean, it was always going to happen. Once they bought themselves out from Activision, which I still cannot believe that they did. That is just the craziest thing in the world.
Weird flex, but okay.
I know, right? Well, I mean, they did it to Microsoft once. Very strange. One on Activision.
Exactly. But otherwise, that's it mostly. It's kind of the new thing I'm looking forward to is Destiny. And then after that, I'm like, I have too many video games to play. I need to play all the video games I currently own.
Oh man, you and me both. It's the most first world problem. It's such absolute bullshit. Patrick,
I know,
tell
right?
me about what are the powered by the Apocalypse games?
Okay, so I've recently gotten back into D&D because I picked up a new group of newbies, basically, who have never played Tabletop before. So I've been playing, 5th edition D&D, and I've just been reminded that I really don't like it. It's not good. Because, D&D comes from a wargaming background, right? So it's very tactical in its, grid-based movement and abilities that move from thing to thing, and I'm much more of a narrative role player, so I wanted to recommend the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is a much more, I don't know how to say it, a lot more group conversational. You think about D&D, and especially for video games, because a lot of them are based off D&D licenses, and you get a sort of thing where you've got the game master and he's built this dungeon where you have to traverse the dungeon and find the DM's traps and kill the monsters that they have set up. So you're effectively fighting the GM, right? In a Powered by the difference in the Powered by the Apocalypse system is that sort of game is much more of a conversational back and forth with the storyteller. Right. So where you might be like, oh, I want to be an elf rogue or something. So I guess the closest example is Dungeon World because that's based off D&D. You might be like, oh, I want to be an elf world, and then the GM will look at you and be like, okay, so tell me what elves are like. And you'll be like, what? And be like, okay, what's up with elves? Imagine elves in this world. Tell me about them. You, the player who is playing this elven rogue, define elves for me in this setting. Awesome. And then so it's this really strong. It's a very strong world where. And the other thing that I really like is in D&D, for instance, if you roll a dice and you can't open a door, you can't get past the skill threshold or whatever. It'll just be like, okay, lockpicking failed, move on. But explicitly in Powered by the Apocalypse games, what will happen is you either succeed or you succeed, but something interesting happens. So, for instance, you might open the door, but you break a pick, or you open the door, and someone on the other side of it, or something like that. You succeed doing it,
something else happens,
but something interesting will happen, or you fail, and then something more interesting will happen. So it's okay, then the GM will do something. So it's a really interesting and a far more narrative based system, and it's also a lot more stat light. The other thing I was thinking about when making D&D was we're all doing character setup, and the GM is just okay, well, we're going to do character setup, and she pulls out a fucking 4-page document, and then the book itself is also 162
You're just
pages.
God damn it, I hate character creators.
Yeah. So I've been working. So I've been working with the Powered by the. I've been hacking it a little bit to make my own version of stuff and make a sci-fi game just to differentiate itself. So I've been thinking about this type of tabletop game for a while.
Neat. That's cool.
Nice.
That's my recommendation. If you like tabletop games, look into the Powered by the Apocalypse system. They've got some good, like, the main one is Apocalypse World, which is like a Mad Max sort of thing, but they've got like a Dungeon World. They've got the Sprawl, which is Cyberpunk. They've got what am I playing? It's called Impulse Drive. That's a Tasmanian homegrown one, very small, but quite a good like Cowboy Bebop sort of like bounty hunter space whatever simulator.
Yeah, cool.
Monster Heart, Heroes, all sorts of good ones. Masks, sorry, not Heroes. But anyway, yeah.
Sweet. That sounds like fun.
Tabletop.
I didn't write this down, but I actually do have a quick recommendation. We've just wrapped up the Dark Crystal series, Netflix series.
Ooh, nice.
It is dark as shit. It is,
nice.
That's
the
suitably
one, right?
so, let's be honest, because 80s, like, I feel like those sort of late 80s Henson films had that kind of sense of hope, but also this is an evil place and terrible things are going to happen. And this doesn't...
that's very fairy tale.
It doesn't shy away from that at all. And it's just fascinating.
Sorry, James, I'll just interrupt super quickly. Is this all actual puppets? Are there any CG?
There is a little
anything?
bit of CG mixed in, but most of it is like produced landscapes and puppetry and just really incredible character design and modeling. And amazing performances, like amazing puppetry performances. It's really incredible.
Fantastic.
And also, I think one of the most nicely shot series on Netflix. Some of the CGI doesn't really work. I feel like some of the like older style composite shots don't really come off all that well. Which I don't know, that kind of seemed weird considering like at some points it's just stunning, like it's just beautiful, like the lighting and the way that the shots are composed are just gorgeous. So it's for that reason it's really compelling anyway. But then there's this really wonderful story crafted around the whole around all of this wonderful production. So it's a really great thing, really great to watch. One of the sort of the better series that I've seen come out. I
downloaded a bunch of that to try watch for the trip, and like I never got around to it, but I think I really need to
definitely
now.
Worth it. Definitely worth a look. And Jamie, have you got anything that you wanted to quickly recommend before we bugger off into the distance?
Well, I've been working on some YouTube stuff, but I don't want to really recommend that stuff too much because I'm like,
why not?
Why not?
Tell us a little bit about you.
I decided to get into video editing because I was unemployed for a couple of months. I figured I want to learn how to actually make video and actually be a content creator, as they say.
Content creation,
which I fucking hate. So I wanted to kind of make a series about video games that I really like and like why you should play them. So I just play a lot of video games. I write really wordy, really passionate scripts as to why you should give them a shot. So I've done about 3 videos so far. One on a game called Azra's Wrath, which is fucking rad.
I've got to play the DLC for that one day.
Wait, you haven't played the DLC for that, you were saying?
No, I haven't played it. So apparently they're like, oh yeah, we put the story ending in the DLC. I was like, fuck you.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, but like put the fucking ending.
Yeah, I know. It's shitty. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's still a fucking great ending though.
Well, maybe I'll watch it on a Let's Play or some shit. I don't know.
Well, I say
that game is a fucking anime series in that you
it is. Play it it's a really good anime series. Really
fucking bad brawler from memory. So.
But I also recently did one on Ridge Racer Type 4, which was really great to be able to go play through that game again because that game is still shit.
Cool. Rad.
So that's all on the New Game Plus YouTube, which is youtube.com/New Game Plus TV. So go give it a shot. Go recommend. It's all on there. It's a series I like to call the Recommended. So go give it a shot. And I'll be honest and recommend something else very quickly because I rediscovered this on the trip. So I watched Spirit of the Way for the first time in 15 years, and I was fucking crying throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, it's fun to get different perspective on that stuff with distance, right?
Yeah, because again, I first saw it again when I was a teenager. Like, oh, this is cool, but like I didn't get it. Like I thought this is just kind of, why is everyone freaking out over this? And then I watch it so many years later, and knowing a little bit more about Japanese culture, and knowing a little bit more about kind of the setting and Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli as a whole, I'm like, this movie's fucking incredible. Like, it's just beautiful. Like, the story isn't that great, and it kind of drops off other places, but that's Ghibli as a whole. And but a lot of that movie is just, it's fucking beautiful. It is the most, like, this is a movie that's 18 years old, and it's just, oh my god, it's fucking beautiful. Like, seriously, go and buy the Blu-ray. It's amazing.
A lot of their creations are tone pieces, basically. Like, just strong imagery, just sort of feeling of these characters lost in this world and that sort of thing. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, no, like, I was really happy to actually just rewatch that again. It was really nice to be able to just watch it on a train when I'm just drinking a bunch, so it's like, that kind of didn't help much, but, like, I just found it just beautiful and moving, so go give that a shot.
Strong recommendations from everyone there. Jamie, where can people find you on the internet when you're not doing New Game Plus stuff?
So all of my social handles are now happily just under one name, which is at Jamie M. Galea. So that's the at symbol and my full name. So that's JAMIEMGALEA. And if you want to find me on the television, if you live in Melbourne, we are on 10:30 p.m. Monday nights, and I believe we air at the same time in Adelaide on Friday nights. Sweet. And you can also find us on the internet at newgameplus.tv. The YouTube also has a bunch of our episodes, so go give it a shot there. We also do Twitch at New Game Plus TV.
It's all happening down at New Game Plus. What about you, Patrick?
I'm at Jinto_AU on the Twitter. That's probably the best place to
rock and roll.
And I'll probably have a review of Goose Game up on The Guardian pretty soon.
How exciting.
Sick.
How exciting. And then you can find me at J_swimbanks on Twitter. No reviews coming up for me soon. Maybe something early October-ish. Plus, I'm working on a bunch of podcast stuff now. So that's always fun.
Neat.
It's all happening. And that is going to do it for us for another episode of Video Game Small Talk. We have completed episode 10. I suppose that means we're going to come back for an 11th. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how we go.
not?
I suppose if the video games keep on coming. Unless something like...
They will keep on coming.
And they won't keep stopping.
Oh, God, we're not doing that again. And on that note,
I already made
I'm
that
going to
joke.
shut this thing down. Thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, follow, do all that terrible, horrible shit. Have a wonderful day.
Throw money
Whatever
at
you're
me.
doing, have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time.